Good afternoon. Hello. So I have to say, I think you're the most committed folks of the day. Thank you for coming out at 5:30 on the first day. Has it been a good day so far? Good, good, very good. So you are at a session on AWS certifications. Is everybody in the right place? Does everybody know that we announced a new certification today, a little teaser? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Dan Masters. I'm with the Global Partner Training Team. With me today is also Vivek, who is the Senior Manager of the Global Partner Team. He's going to be here to answer questions and such. We also have Kevin Kelly, who is the head of our certification organization. And he's going to get up here and talk about the new announcements. And I also have some special guests in a partner that's actually here that's done some very creative things in certifications. And we're going to talk to them. We're going to talk about some of the things they've been doing. They have some interesting belts up here on the stage that we're going to have to learn more about as we go. So real quick, what we're going to cover here today, just very quickly, I'm going to just talk about the value of certification. Then we're going to let Kevin dive into the what's new and look inside the certifications themselves. Then I will bring up Slum Consulting, and they will tell you about some of the things they've been doing from a partner perspective around certifications. Finally, I'll close it out, just tie everything together and remind you how this fits in with the APN, and then I'll give you some takeaways to go forward with. All right, so right off the bat, audience participation. So first question is, how many of you already have an associate certification, just by raise of hands? Okay, just a few. So of those, how many of you have the professional certification? Okay, well that's good. I'm getting a little feedback up here. Does anybody have a specialty certification or anybody? Okay, the fewer and fewer hands. So I think the vast majority of you are here to find out about certifications. Is that true? Looking at getting a certification? Excellent. Okay, that's kind of what we thought, but it's good to see that in the audience. So let me just real quick talk about the opportunity and really the value of certifications. And when we look at the value of certifications, we always start with the customer. And what is the value of certifications to our customers and your customers as our partners? We also look at it from the standpoint of what is the value of certifications to you as a partner. And then as individuals, you're the ones that actually get the certification. So what is the benefit there? So I'm going to very quickly cover this. But before I do that, actually, what I wanted to talk about is an interesting trend that we're seeing in that information technology decision makers are actually reporting that they're seeing an increasing gap between their staff and the skill levels that they have and the knowledge that they need to actually meet those objectives that they're trying to put out. And what we've seen, interesting to this study, and this is from the Global Knowledge IT Skills and Salary Study, is that gap from 2016 to 17 is actually growing. So it's getting more challenging for organizations. And one of the things that certification can bring is clearly the preparation, the recognition that you do have those skills. So going to the value to a customer, really customers are interested in solving business problems, and they're looking to you as partners to help them solve those problems. And that's first and foremost what they're thinking about. But really what we see is that customers understand the value of AWS certifications, and they're actually seeking out partners that have those certifications. If they see value in the certifications and you have the certifications, that automatically gives you a presence and recognition of that capability. So value to you as a partner is really the certifications help you to prep kind of as like a Sherpa, right? So you are trying to guide your customers to an end goal and they need help. And what certifications do is they prepare you, kind of your team of Sherpas, so that you can go out there and solve their most complex problems. Obviously, the more certifications you get, the higher levels that you get, it starts to differentiate yourself as a partner, and that can lead to additional benefits through the APN, and we'll talk about the APN right at the end, but that's the value to you as a partner. Now talking to the value of certifications to you as an individual, these are kind of the obvious ones, right? you gain the expertise to be able to design and deploy and implement very complex solutions for your customers. Those certifications give you recognition. It adds to your credibility. And there are tangible benefits that come with the certifications as well, and we'll talk about those as well. So that's just at a very high level some of the value, the way we think about certifications from a value perspective, the customer level, a partner level, and then to you as an individual. So what I'd like to do next is go ahead and invite Kevin Kelly up here, who's going to talk to you about the certification program.
Thanks.
The big green button.
All right. Thanks for attending. I'd like to share with you first some pretty impressive growth numbers for AWS certifications year over year for the past 5 years that we've had certifications. You can see tremendous growth, and the scale there is 10. So in October of 2017, we actually went over the 100K mark for 100,000 certified certifications awarded from AWS. So I want to thank many of you in this room who raised your hand, and those of you that are thinking about getting a certification for helping us achieve these numbers. I also think it reflects the importance that the industry sees in holding an AWS credential. I think jointly, AWS building the platform and all of you as partners who help our customers do the heavy lifting by building and deploying production applications on the AWS platform, it's a big risk we ask them to take. We're asking them to take business critical applications and move them into an environment that they may not have a lot of experience with. We're going to ask them to potentially re-architect to take advantage of the AWS platform. And then you have to explain to them why you want to make these changes and some different models, using spot instances, using on-demand instances that scale out and scale in, helping them understand a new costing model. That's a lot of change and risk for our customers. And when each of you get an AWS certification, you help ease that, in that Sherpa role that Dan talked about, and help the customers feel more comfortable with your tech chops and capability because you hold one of our certifications. So thanks in advance if you're thinking about getting a certification. For those of you that have one, thanks. A lot of growth, and we expect that growth curve to continue. Dan mentioned we announced a new certification. So earlier today, we announced a new AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification. So this is a new entry-level certification that we've created. And we've done this mainly because there are a lot of stakeholders who help make decisions about moving, migrating, deploying applications on the cloud that aren't builders. If you'll notice, all of our certifications today are really focused on developers, sysops admins, solutions architects. We really didn't have a certification for all of those other decision makers and stakeholders who participate in the decision to deploy applications to the cloud. And so we built a new certification, a new entry-level certification that's targeted at that audience. So think about security assessment vulnerability engineers who spend time thinking about the threats to the platform. Think about software development managers who are no longer coding. They have a deep, intimate understanding of the AWS platform and what it can and cannot do, but they're not at the console at the CLI all the time like the developers are. Think about Scrum masters, who understand the capabilities of the platform, but again, aren't builders and aren't coders. They were having a hard time passing our associate level exams because they were focused on those builder roles. So we built a new certification that's a lot more inclusive, and it encompasses questions around what are the good use cases for an environment like AWS? What are some of the costing models? It touches on some of the architectural best practices around scaling in and scaling out. Not from a coding perspective, but what does that mean from a business value proposition perspective? And so, we're hoping people in support and lots of other different roles who have a working understanding of our platform but aren't builders, they now have a credential where they can demonstrate to their customers and the market and themselves that they have capability and a working knowledge of the AWS platform. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the AWS Cloud Practitioner Essentials course that dovetails on our other announcement that Training and Certification made this week today. But this is an alternate path to address a group of people who weren't able to get one of our certifications today. So here's what our new roadmap looks like. And this roadmap is now up on our Training and Certification website. So you'll notice on the bottom, we've got this new role, Cloud Practitioner, which is kind of an umbrella role for encompassing all of these different positions that I just talked about. And you can still see the associate focused on the builders. And the Cloud Practitioner is optional. So you can jump directly to an associate exam if you're a solutions architect, a SysOps admin, or developer, and you feel like you're ready to take that exam. The Cloud Practitioner exam is really targeted at those sort of non-builder roles. It requires about 6 months experience interacting with the AWS platform. Our associate exams still require 12 to 18 months production deployment experience, ideally deploying more than one kind of application on the AWS platform in those roles as a developer, solutions architect, or SysOps admin. And then you can see our 2 professional level exams, the SA Pro and the DevOps Engineer, where the SysOps and the developer join at the professional level. Over to the right, you'll see our 2 specialty exams. So partners in particular have helped us define a set of skills, competencies, capabilities where they want to demonstrate a specialized expertise on the AWS platform. And 2 of them that we currently have certifications for are big data and advanced networking. So you have to have an associate and now either an associate or a cloud practitioner to be eligible to take the specialty exams. So imagine that security, imagine a networking engineer. So they understand a lot about certain parts of our platform. Obviously, VPC, Direct Connect, a bunch of our network-focused services. But they don't have a wide breadth of experience on storage or compute because it's not what they do day to day. So they can take the Cloud Practitioner exam and demonstrate that they have a working understanding of the platform and then take their advanced networking specialty exam. So that's our new roadmap. So what are we thinking about doing in the next 12 to 18 months? One is we want to continue to provide relevant certifications. And again, the partner community has really been pivotal in helping us think about what other specialty and role-based exams they'd like to see. Topics like storage, topics like cloud migration, topics like even Alexa come up as potential areas for new specialty certifications. We also want to bring testing capability closer to our customers. So we're using PSI as our test delivery vendor. They have more test centers globally than our previous delivery vendor. And they also have introduced kiosks. So these are portable, mobile testing units that you can drop into an environment, have people register and take exams on that unit, and then pull that unit out and ship it someplace else. So we have several large partners who actually have some of these units on premise. And what that means is they can take less time away from the bench to go and get the certification because it's actually at their work location. So they don't have to hop on a train or drive to a test center. So we're hoping to bring more of those kind of modalities to help people take exams. We also want to build richer practice exams. I'm not happy with our current practice exams. It's a static set of 20 questions, and we give you a final score at the end. We're not really doing all we could do in terms of telling you these are the areas you were strong in, and if you have to make choices, time choices about where you can study, these are the areas that require more attention. And we'd like to add some adaptive capability to that, right? So if you're struggling with database, then we'd like to push a little bit further and say, is it SQL or no SQL where you may be struggling? So look for richer practice exams coming. We also want to provide a more robust certification benefit program. I'm going to talk about that in a slide coming up. And then finally, we want to create performance-based exams. So this is the one I'm most excited about. We want to create exams, again, focused on builders, where you actually build something. So imagine being presented the console or the CLI and 5 to 7 steps of instructions on building something. And you make a gesture at the end and say, I'm done, and we actually iterate over what you built on the platform. So right now our exams are multiple choice, and they favor people that can read quickly and parse the language quickly in the stem of the question and then discern between the distractors and the right answer. So we really want to move towards performance-based testing. So look for something, in the next 12 to 18 months in that area. So many people ask me, I want to get certified. How should I go about doing it? The first line up there is really important. Nothing is going to replace hands-on experience with the platform. We certainly have people who can read the documentation and pass our exams. They're few and far between. Until you've locked yourself out of your first EC2 instance because you screwed up the security groups, or you have to deal with your first stuck volume and unmount it and remount it as a data volume to get the data and recover it. Until you've experienced some of those things, which are on our exams, it's really hard to read about them. So production deployment experience is a must. And again, for the cloud practitioner, we're targeting about 6 months experience with the platform. For the associate level exams, it's 12 to 18 months production deployment experience, ideally deploying more than one kind of application. So how should you get started? Well, one, you can take one of our training classes, or you can take one of our training partners' training classes. So Udemy, Linux Academy, the Cloud Guru, many other partners provide really good training to help you prepare, in addition to the training that we provide. You should look at the exam guide. So for each of our certifications, we have an exam guide that explains the domains, objectives, and sub-objectives, and the percentages that they count on the exam to help guide where you want to spend your study time. We have practice tests that I spoke about earlier, and we have labs, hands-on labs. So you should go to the lab environment, especially for the kinds of things, let's say, you're at a company that's focused on social media kind of applications. So you feel strong on the platform there, but you may feel less strong on some other aspects of the platform like IoT. So you might do some of our IoT hands-on labs to get some stick time and experience with the platform. Studying our white papers. So many of our exam guides will specifically call out white papers that we want you to look at. The security white paper, the architecture, best practices white paper, and a few others are musts as part of your studying effort. This is my architecture videos. They're short videos that are good to watch, and they talk about different kinds of architectures. Again, exposing you to architectures that you may not be seeing day to day in production because your customers aren't building those kinds of things. Reading the first couple of chapters of the AWS documentation on the services is a good place to start, because they generally start with a description of why the service exists, and at a high level, what does it do. This is especially important for the services that you don't interact with frequently. Review the AWS FAQs. So I can tell you a lot of our certification questions come from the FAQ questions, because they're common questions people have about the platform. That's why we wrote an FAQ on it. And they're good places for us to mine questions that can appear on an exam. Take one of our cert prep workshops. A bunch of them are actually occurring today as a cert prep workshop. And then finally, take a practice exam. My general guidance is if you can get between 80 and 90 on a practice exam, you probably put yourself in a good position to be successful passing one of our live exams. So when you do all that and you feel like you're ready, then hop out to the AWS Learning Management System over to PSI. It'll then link you there to register for an exam, and then take and pass your exam and get AWS certified. Again, nothing replaces that practical experience and hands-on stick time with the platform. So I mentioned earlier our new digital training platform, which we've announced. So we're really excited about this. This is an effort to try to bring training in more bite-sized chunks directly to you. And we've created this new platform, and we put 100+ courses out there with over 40 hours of material, covering more than 70 of our services. So this is another great place to take some bite-sized chunks, anywhere you have connectivity to help in your certification studying process. We also have released on this a specific course targeted at our new Cloud Practitioner certification. So it's called AWS Cloud Practitioner Essentials. It's one of those 100 free courses that are out there on the training platform. And if you're thinking about getting a certification, this might be a good one to get started with as an entry-level certification. So you can take the training, see how you do, follow some of those steps that we just looked at, get to the practice exam. If you can get between 80 and 90, you're probably in a good position, and take a shot at the exam. Dan mentioned the benefits earlier, and you saw it on the vision slide where we really want to strengthen the benefits, but I want to explain some of the benefits that we have today. One, we have a LinkedIn community that you can join when you get a certification. And it's a place for you to interact with your colleagues and peers who also are interested in and have certifications, and ask questions and chat with each other. We also, when you get a certification, you're given access to a PDF certificate that has a number on it, but you also get access to some logos, that AWS Certified with the check mark on it, that you can put in your correspondence and your email or wherever you'd like to use that. Free practice exams. So once you pass one of our certifications, we give you a practice exam for your next level certification. So we want to make it easy and reward you for getting one to think about getting that next level certification. Event recognition. So many of you on your badge, well, if you're already certified, you'll have AWS Certified on your badge. We want to identify that. Here at reInvent, we have 2 certification lounges, the one in the ARIA where the kiosks are, where you can go take a look at them, and another certification lounge in the Venetian, where you can go and sit down, get good connectivity and a table, and get some food and coffee and drinks. And then our certification appreciation event. So this Thursday, if you hold one of our certifications before the replay event, you can join us at Brooklyn Bowl for more free alcohol and food and bowling. And we'll also have a special giveaway that we're giving you at the event. And then digital badges. So this May, as part of the benefits program, we released digital badges. So they're URL navigable badges that you can put on LinkedIn or in your email signature that people can click on and then unambiguously identify you with the name you used when you earned the certification, the first date you earned that certification, and when your current certification expires. So a full digital badge like you would expect for a certification. And then finally, we launched, and I was a little dubious of this, right? We're going to ask you to spend more money with us, but we launched a AWS Certified swag store. And I've been surprised at the uptake, where people want to get shirts, water bottles, mouse pads, things that have the AWS Certified logo on them. And it's tiered. So if you have an associate, you get access to some of the swag, and then if you have pro, you get access to all the associate plus more swag. Those are the current benefits that we have as earning your certification. And then I want to leave you with a call to action. So this year, we experimented with our first use of partners to help us write the exams, and it went very well. We would really like to include customers and partners in helping us develop and build our exams and participate in building the domains and the objectives for those exams. And so I would encourage you, if you're interested, to come by and you hold a certification, come by one of our certification lounges and fill out an interest card. And we really do want to be more inclusive in who helps us build the exams. And if you do that, it's 2 to 3 days for the workshops. We feed you, we swag you at the event, and then you get the opportunity to interact with AWS people that are helping build the exam, plus your colleagues and peers from other companies. And when you go take your exam, of course, you have a leg up because you've been helping write some of the questions. All right, thanks very much, and I'll turn it back over. Thing that we want to do is bring up one of our partners from Small Consulting, and I'd like
to go ahead and introduce, thank you, Ahmed Shama, who is going to give you a very good overview of Islam Consulting, and then after that we're going to invite a couple of your kind of certified employees, stars. We'll talk about what they are up for some Q&A after that. So thank you. Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome. It's an honor to be here talking to everyone today. We wanted to share some of the experiences that we had at Slalom, some of the successes that we've had in the past couple of years, 1.5 to 2 years, around certifications, and you know, in hopes that by sharing the journey that we went through in the past couple of years, that hopefully some other partners can benefit from this as well. So just a little bit quickly, some corporate narcissism here, just talking briefly about what we do. We're a kind of full service shop. We covered many different practice areas, so we're not just focused on cloud, but we focus on management consulting as well. We've got 4,500 employees globally, 25 local markets, over 900 clients, and currently we're in United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Here's a map that shows where we are. One of the things that's unique about Slalom is we have a local model, so we're not looking to put folks on planes every week, but every dot that you see there is a market where consultants are focused on their local market. And then we've got 10 core values that kind of define what our culture is about. So do what is right always, just stuff that's very, very important to kind of the social fabric at Slalom. So the relationship between Slalom and AWS, we actually qualify for all of the core AWS competencies, so cloud migration, big data, DevOps, et cetera. We've delivered over 230 projects specifically on the AWS platform the past few years. We've got some of these numbers are increasing by the day, but over 85 current AWS clients, 975 consultants with AWS experience, 265 certs. The amount of work that we're doing in the AWS space, the year-over-year growth is 220%, and we have about 33 AWS funded events. So some of the members of the team that are here now, we've got Derek Poulin, Sayed Katabshi, and RJ Jafarkhani. And we're going to be doing another event session tomorrow around training. The three that I mentioned, they're here, and we will be available to take questions in person for folks that are interested. But just gives a little bit of background. I'm going to brag on their behalf so that they don't have to. So Derek Poulin was actually one of the first 50 people globally to get all 5 of the certs. And then Sayed and RJ also got all 5 certs, but then our friend Kevin decided to move the goalpost and add two additional certs in the form of specialty certs. So Derek Poulin, being the overachiever that he is, went and got those 2 additional certs last year when they were made available. So our friends over at AWS affectionately call Derek 007 for getting all 7 certs, and once again, they moved the goalpost, and now it's 8. So he's gonna have to go and get another one and become 008, whatever that means. So 2 years ago, we had 0 certifications. We had 0 cloud consultants in our local market in Orange County. Our local market that we represent is Orange County, San Diego, and San Diego. And we set out on this audacious goal that we wanted to become a first-class cloud consultancy. And so, for folks that may not be familiar, there's this concept called a Behag, a big, hairy, audacious goal, which, look it up, it's actually on Wikipedia. And no, I did not just create the page right before I got up here, but strategic business statement to focus an organization on a single medium to long-term goal, which is audacious, likely to be externally questionable, but not internally regarded as impossible. So the point of a Behag is that it should be overly ambitious and it should border on the unattainable. And so when we talk about what is the most famous Behag probably in American history, we talk about the moonshot. So if I were to ask everybody right now, what is the US president that is most associated with putting the man on the moon? What are you gonna say? Kennedy, right? And that's an actual picture from him talking about putting a man on the moon, right? And so he says, we chose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And so he set out this goal. When did man actually step foot on the moon? Who was president? Anybody know? Nixon. And yet we don't associate, when we think about Nixon, we think about this famous picture right here, right? So even though the achievement took place at a later presidency, it was that initial big, hairy, audacious goal that is associated with the achievement itself. And so we talk about our local story in Orange County, San Diego. We had a local Behag. Slalom Consulting nationally is a premier partner. And among the many requirements that is required to be a premier partner is that you get 4 associate level certifications at a minimum of, and a minimum of 2 professional level certifications. So we said, okay, we've got 0 certs in our local market. Our big, hairy, audacious goal is that we wanted locally to achieve that premier status. And it in our minds at the time, it bordered on the unattainable. We wanted to do this within a year, and we were a small group of folks, and it seemed like it was impossible. But we said that we were going to set out and do it. So one of the ways that we achieved some success was Sayed Katabshi, that I mentioned earlier, started a grassroots training program called the Cloudiators. Get it? Gladiators, Cloudiators. And we're actually doing a session tomorrow about training where we can dive into a little bit more detail on that. I encourage folks to attend that to see the specific details behind that. But Sayed is also available to answer questions after. And we started creating a culture of celebrating each other's success. And this was actually really, really important, that every time that somebody got certified, we made a really big deal out of it in our office. We send out these email blasts, and it hits 200 people, and you always have that grumpy person who's always like, oh, too many emails. But it started to create this sense of, wow, this is really important. Achieving certifications is really important. And it became, viral, essentially. And then one of the other things that we did was we wanted to demystify, or we wanted to remove any sort of negativity associated with failing an exam. And so we don't just reimburse when somebody takes and passes an exam. We reimburse all attempts to take an exam. And we say there's absolutely no stigma in taking and failing an exam. So one of the things, Kevin had mentioned earlier that one of the things that is the best exam prep is actual practical experience, and we wholeheartedly agree with that. One of the other pieces that we feel is really important for exam prep is actually taking and failing an exam. There is no better exam prep after practical experience than taking and failing an exam and not feeling any sort of stigma associated with that, because you actually get to see what the exam is about. And by removing that stigma, 9 times out of 10, literally 90% of the time, that folks went in feeling that they were completely unprepared to take the exam, they actually passed the exam on their first attempt. And so what was the result? Remember I mentioned earlier about 2 professional certs and 4 associate certs. That's the unattainable goal that we're trying to achieve. Well, the results were that within 2 years' time, we shattered expectations. We got a total of 35 certifications, and of those, 9 were professional certifications. And it completely blew our mind. And we realized that, similar to the whole 4-minute mile concept, that, after World War II, there's this mental block of, human beings can never run faster than 4-minute mile, but then Roger Bannister broke that record and did it in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Then all of a sudden, all these people started breaking the records year after year, and sometimes within days of each other, because it removed that mental barrier. Once we remove the mental barrier, which I suspect a lot of us in this room even feel now, like it's such a daunting thing. How can I get certified? I have to invest all this time and all this effort into it. We realize that, yes, it is challenging, but it is absolutely attainable. And we established, so some of the benefits that we reaped from this was that we established a very close and healthy relationship with our local AWS team, which generated more opportunities for leads, training, and joint events, which are always a lot of fun. And it also helps us establish credibility and trust with our clients, just like Kevin had mentioned earlier. And we even had a scenario where one of our enterprise level clients in San Diego, a really big one that everybody here knows, actually required during the contracting, during the SOW itself, required that every role that was going to engage in a cloud migration had to be AWS certified, and they required that the lead architect must be professional certified. And they mentioned the certifications by name in the SOW. And so, the folks that are going to come up to talk about this a little bit are going to talk about, the whole Sherpa, establishing trust and credibility with your clients. But it shows that, even our customers are placing significant stock in this. So with that, I'll get out of the way and have the smart people talk. Thanks.
All right. So next, what I'd like to do is invite the smart people up onto the stage. And Derek and RJ are coming up onto the stage. And I'm going to just do a quick Q&A with them and ask some questions about their experience with certification. So RJ, I'll go ahead and start with you. So go ahead and just give me a quick introduction of yourself and your role at Slalom.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm RJ Jeffrikani. I'm a principal consultant with Slalom. Been with Solemn for just over 3 years now. As a principal consultant, there are a lot of different roles, a lot of different hats that I wear. One of which is that I lead a small team of consultants and solution architects. I also am responsible for delivery and also for sales as well. And that's much it.
Okay. So it was mentioned that you have 5 certifications currently. So from a personal perspective, which of those certifications do you find has the most value and why?
Gosh, yeah. So, I have the 5 certs, but, as I mentioned earlier, I wear a lot of hats. But what I did not mention is I also wear a big old belt. Really, this is the Cloudator Master Certification that was given to us by our local AWS team. It's not really a certification per se, it's more of a recognition of our ability to attain the 5 different certifications, right? And really, what makes that so valuable for us is this is a certification that's viewed by our local team as being so valuable that they would go to the extent of getting us these belts and recognizing that we are actually of a master caliber, if you will.
That's great. All right. Ahmed talked a little bit about the culture. Tell me from your experience, how does certifications impact your culture?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, Ahmed mentioned a lot of it, but for us, it's really about creating a sense of community within Solemn, first of all, right? But for us, it's also about client recognition and being able to demonstrate to the client that AWS is assured that we are capable and competent in this field and that we're able to deliver for them.
Okay. One more question for you, and then we'll move over to Derek. How do you see the Cloud Practitioner? I just introduced this to you this morning, integrating into your culture then.
Gosh, I think the biggest thing is what comes to mind is cloud awareness, right? It creates cloud awareness in an organization that might otherwise not have that awareness, or might only be being championed by 1 or 2 different people. I think with this certification, it allows not only so when we go into a client, for example, we have our various certifications, but a lot of times there might be resistance within that client, and what allows that client to be more aware of all the possibilities that the cloud can provide is something like that type of certification.
Okay. So I think I would agree with that, because we're seeing, obviously for you as a partner, if you're looking to get a certification as a starting point, it's a great place to start. But also as you're going out to customers, and I'll plug our session tomorrow. We have a session on partner training. If you just look that up at 1 o'clock tomorrow, we'll be talking a little bit more about this. But the better your customers understand the cloud and the use cases and what they can do, the quicker you can get to accelerating their cloud adoption and make more business through that. So that's a great example. So thanks. Why don't we move to Derek real quick? So Derek, real quick, introduce yourself and your role at Solemn as well.
Sure. So Derek Poulin, I'm a principal consultant at Solemn, and I've been there since June. Most of my work is in the cloud and DevOps space, doing assessments and migrations, that sort of thing. Prior to joining Solemn, I was 10 years in architecture, so application architecture, enterprise architecture, DevOps, security, IoT, big data, everything basically. And then prior to that, 12 years of full stack web development. So a lot of preparation before even taking any of the certifications. So.
Very good. So you have 7 certifications, and you have a belt over here too.
Oh yes,
right?
I do have the belt. It's pretty weighty.
It is weighty. Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, it was a great gift. Thanks to the people at Amazon.
So out of the 7 certifications that you took, just from your personal perspective, what do you think was the most challenging certification and why?
Oh yeah, so definitely the professional ones are very difficult and challenging, but the one that got me personally was the advanced networking. I did the beta last year in December, and that one was really challenging because it wasn't the great study material. I mean, I look at the digital training that you announced, and it's exciting stuff. So when I took it, I didn't have that available. It was basically training on what I think was going to be on the exam, and it was even more challenging than I had imagined. So that was a really good test.
Great. So what are some of the benefits that you've seen having multiple certifications?
Oh yeah, so having multiple certifications, they kind of have a combinatorial effect, if you will. So I think Ahmed mentioned one customer that we're at right now. I'm building a log analytics pipeline for them. So that kind of mixes SA Pro, the big data, as well as the SysOps admin. And just the learnings I took from those things and kind of combine those to form that. We're also doing a major zero downtime cloud migration for them, and hugely challenging, and that's actually using SA Pro, DevOps Pro, as well as advanced networking for the direct connect stuff that we're doing with them.
That's great, and that practical application of tying those things together and then using those skills. So a lot of people said that they're interested in getting a certification. So what are maybe some of your top tips for getting a certification? What do you tell your colleagues at Slalom on how to go about getting a certification?
Yeah, definitely. So what Kevin Kelly showed up there with that diagram was awesome. Just the different activities in the flow. So don't want to be too redundant with that, but the top ones I would say is definitely get yourself an account with root level access so that you can do everything from like MFA on the root account, set up MFA delete on your S3 buckets, things like that. It's really critical to understanding how some of this infrastructure works, even support, how do you enable features and things like that. And you can even hop into beta programs too for things that are upcoming. Other thing is hop in and do the practice test. What I found was if you're getting 80 or 90% off the bat, then you're ready. Just go take the real test. Most of the time, the practice test confirmed I was ready. But I remember the DevOps Pro was one that I didn't pass the practice exam the first shot, and so then I learned a lot from that and went back and realized where I needed to study, and that was hugely beneficial. Just taking the practice test and trying it, and I had all 7 certs before I joined Slalom, but the culture of no stigma with failing is huge, and being part of a company that supports that is immense.
All right. So last question for both of you. So circling back around to customers, what value do you see certifications adding to your customers? You want to start?
Sure. So I see the value adding in a couple different ways. So first of all, there's all the knowledge you have to gain simply to do the certifications themselves, right? And I didn't study just to pass the test. I wanted to understand the material at a fundamental level, and that's crucial to helping customers in their journey. Second thing is that actually the credibility of the certifications themselves. So customers trust AWS certifications. They know it's hard to attain. They know AWS does a good job. And with that credibility, customers trust my advice, guidance, proposals. And so with that, we can move together faster, innovate faster, do better work. And I find that being part of a great company like Slalom with that great name brand, having the AWS certifications, been able to make huge changes at customers.
Great. RJ?
Yeah, so to answer,
Do you want me to take that?
it's getting really heavy. So to answer that question, I think for me, I look at it 2 ways. For me, what it does is it creates instant credibility, especially with new clients. Right? There's nothing like, no one's going to doubt you when you walk into the room wearing this belt. You get a seat at the table, right? In all seriousness, though, I think for the client, most of it, Derek, you mentioned as well, it creates a level of assurance that we are able to, we're competent, obviously. We're able to deliver for them. We're able to provide the solution that they're looking for, and also assures the fact that we have a certain level of depth and breadth in the cloud space to be able to do that as well.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for both committing to carrying this in your luggage from Southern California, because I picked it up and it is very heavy.
Yeah, actually security stopped me, and I had to, it took a little bit longer to get through because they wanted to figure out what this was in my backpack, and they got a good chuckle when they found it.
Well, thank you both for coming up. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, just tying a few things together and then a couple of actions that we have for you. I just want to tie this back. Certifications are a key component to the APN or the AWS Partner Network. And you're either a part of that or maybe you're joining and looking to become part of the APN. And the journey through APN from registered up to Premier is got a number of steps to it, but you'll see in those steps is training requirements, and certifications is a key component of that. And we do that for a simple reason, and that is certifications add credibility. So if we want to create a program where we say these are our best partners and why, then we want to make sure that we have established credibility metrics to go along with that. The other thing, if you want to create for yourself a Behag, here's maybe one that you could set out there. Last year at reInvent, we announced the APN Certification Distinction program. And this was for partners that really went all in on certifications. And obviously you have to have a number of people to get these numbers of certifications, but really going aggressively after multiple certifications and recognized at a AWS level so that you can take that out to, again, your customers and say, we have a very large bench of Sherpas that we can call on. So, just closing it out here, the key takeaways. Some things to do this week. It was mentioned that there is a certification party at a bowling alley where you get more drink and food on Thursday. You have until Thursday to get a certification, and then you can go to that event. So there is a certification testing happening at the Mirage. You can go over there. The new Cloud Practitioner, if you've always wanted to get something, you feel like you have 6 months of experience and you've got some knowledge, go out and look at the exam guide and figure out what's in that. Stop by one of our booths and ask some questions, but maybe go out and take a shot at that. You might find that you've got the knowledge already and you can pass that. We also have the hands-on labs. Hands-on labs are a great way to prepare for any certification. There's more than 100 labs. They're online all the time, but at reInvent, they're all there, more than 100 labs. You can take as many of them as you want for free. I think there's even a session that goes till midnight on Wednesday night, because I think I'm helping out with that. And then finally, go out, check out the digital training that we have available. It's a great new resource, and I think it's going to be very valuable for you. Last thing. Make certifications part of your training or part of your education plan, your skill development. We've got maps, and I forgot to we have a guide that actually shows you. Do you have a copy of it with you? I'll show it to you. Come by the certification booth. The certification booth is at the Venetian Expo Hall. Thank you. So I've got this great guide that gives you all the direction and a path to certification. So come pick one of these up, ask some questions of it, and try to get certified here at reInvent. And like I said, on Thursday night before replay, you can come and do some bowling and have some drinks. So with that, I think we have maybe 7 minutes to take a few questions if there's any available. If you want, you can come up to the microphone, or I can repeat back the answer. We'll invite whomever to come up.